Hey everyone, so I am making a video after a long time, and I think what I wanted to say was I'm kind of changing the direction a little bit of my videos, but not really, because I named the channel Juicy Kind of Life because I wanted it to document my life, right? And I guess what I want to do now is actually do that and use this as sort of a journaling experience. And one of the main things that I wanted to do was also share my experience in hopes that it could help other people in their situations or past experiences they've had. And if I could help anyone, then that'll be amazing and great and that'll make me happy. But what I wanted to say was, I went through hair all over me, my hair, my cat's hair, everywhere. So I went through like a pretty big experience. Um, that I removed myself from. It was a really toxic uh, relationship, and I removed myself from that relationship about a year ago, and I have been, I guess you can say, uh, transitioning or healing or whatever you want to call it during this past year, and I've gone through a lot of things. And I basically had a relationship with someone who was a narcissist, and didn't know what the hell that meant before. And like, I've heard the word narcissist. I obviously had a different idea of what the hell it meant earlier, but once you start to look it up in the different contexts, it all makes sense to you. And and it doesn't surprise me because after realizing what it meant and what it entailed and what people who are narcissists are, it didn't surprise me at all because my first ex was a narcissist as well. So it didn't surprise me at all. And it made tons of sense. So, you go through these experiences, it's very devastating. It left me very, very damaged to a point where I didn't know if I was going to be able to fix any of that. I had severe post-traumatic stress disorder from it, and I developed panic disorder because of it, and started having like panic attacks, which are simply the most horrible thing ever. For anyone who suffers from panic attacks, I'm so sorry you have to go through that. I know how horrible they are. They are so shitty. I do not wish them on my enemies. Okay, that's how horrible they are. And I just went through a really hard time, and when I had to go no contact, I was going through an even more horrible time. I didn't think things would get better, but they do. They do get better. And you start to find ways to try to heal yourself. And I think two things you need to think about that are really important. Number one, you need to start taking responsibility for it. And I'm not saying to be hard on yourself, and I don't want to victim blame, because if you look it up or you start to get informed in it, you obviously know why you stay in relationships like this. Obviously, love bombing and gaslighting and all the manipulation and all the different things they do, to triangulation, all the things that they do to disarm you and break you down and to keep you hooked, and all those things. It's very easy why you stay, and other people who haven't been in that situation will never understand, and that's okay. Don't worry about them. But at some point, you have to think, what is it that allowed me to stay, and like, not allowed me, but what got me hooked to the love bombing that was so enticing about that? And why is it that when the first red flags went up, why did I not notice them? Why did I not set boundaries? Why was I okay and let it slide, those things? Why did I not run for the hills the first time something bad happened? Because I can tell you right now, with both my exes, that there were red flags and there were things that happened in the beginning that were very alarming, that were like, what the hell was that? And you stay. They come and they explain themselves and they say they're sorry and how much you mean to them and all these different things, and you believe them. You believe them. You do. You believe them with all your heart, and you want to believe them, and you love them. You love them with all your heart. So you know what? You stay. So at some point you have to stop and say, all right, this stuff happened. I'm not okay with it, and I'm not going to let it slide. So we have to take responsibility. So the problem is, what happened, or what's wrong with us that we're doing this, that we're allowing this to happen, that we allow this from the get-go to happen. Because once you're hooked in there, it's different, you know, you let it happen, because by then it's like, forget it. But initially, if you know the red flags and all these things, you have a chance to not even participate and like remove yourself from these situations. So you have to like start to like look at yourself and wonder, what happened to me, or what am I doing, or what's wrong with me to allow these things. And so, you know, you start to look at yourself and say, okay, I have childhood wounds, or whatever it is. For myself, my childhood wounds is my upbringing. I was basically raised in this exact environment, and you just repeat it because it basically becomes ingrained in your subconscious. You become hardwired, literally, to know that this is, feel like this is normal, and that this is, it's a familiar dance to, like, you know what it feels like. You automatically gravitate towards that, and you slip into that role so easily because you know that role. You know it. You knew it your whole life. You were raised that way your whole life, so you honestly don't even know any different. So it feels normal to you. That's what feels normal to you. It feels normal. It feels comfortable. It feels like what love is, because that's just what you've known. That's the only thing you've known your whole life. So you say no. Even though you might say, that's not love. What I saw, what I witnessed was not love. It doesn't matter what you say, what you consciously are aware of. None of that matters when you're dealing with your subconscious, because as we all know, I don't have a thing. The paper, let me get the paper here for you. As we all know, and you know, first year psychology teaches you this in university. But when you have your consciousness and all that stuff, and you have all that in your triangle, your consciousness is literally the tip of the triangle, and that's it. And everything below here is your subconscious. That is a lot of area. So even though you consciously might say, oh, that's bad, I would never get into a relationship with someone like that, the truth is your whole subconscious is totally imprinted with the idea of that relationship already. So it doesn't matter what this part's saying. This part is trained to think that that is what a relationship should feel like. It's trained already. So that's something we need to understand. And I think when you come to terms with that, it makes it a little bit easier. Now, the question you might ask is, how do I change that? How do I change that? How do I keep getting pulled in that direction? Because I can tell you right now, the minute I was out of that relationship, that I instantly got pulled into another situation like that. And you know, it's scary because you don't even notice. Like, and these people, like this individual acted like my friend. You know, he acted like my friend, and he was very kind and caring and all these things. And it's like, but they're not. They have like hidden agenda, and they know who to target. You know, and the good news is I was able to spot the red flags, and I removed myself. But unfortunately, I did participate enough that I wasn't okay with it. But it just, at least I was able to remove it and not be involved in that situation. Thank God. But you will gravitate towards this. You will, until you heal those childhood wounds and things like that. So spend time with yourself and heal those wounds. And basically, my videos are going to be about that, about healing your childhood wounds, finding love within yourself, and finding happiness and being happy, actually choosing to be happy, because that's a choice we get to make. It's in our hands. We get to choose that. Nobody can take that from you. It doesn't matter if shitty things happen around you. We get to choose that. We get to choose if we're going to be happy or not. And I'm going to choose that. I'm totally going to choose that. I decided that that's what I want to choose, and I deserve it. I totally deserve it. So these videos are going to document that, and I'll talk about things like that and the things I've done to help me with my healing, the things that I want to do, the things I'm involved with, that I found helpful. And if you'd like to share any tips or any comments or anything, feel free to do so. But that's pretty much it. So I hope that everyone will, you know, not be so hard on yourselves, and know that we have We have room to grow, even though we're hardwired or pre-programmed to be a certain way. We can change that. You can change that. I promise you. You can change that. You can rewire your programming or whatever you want to call it, and we can better ourselves, and we can make a new path and rewrite things. You can do that. We have so much capacity to heal and change more than you know, and don't sell yourself short. Okay, so as long as you know that there's a problem and that you need to fix that and heal and change, then you're good to go. So that's pretty much the bulk of my video today. So I just want to wish everyone a very wonderful day and sending lots of peace, love, and light to everyone. Have a good day.